Oh my God. If I could time travel, I would straight up kick Tiny Me in the fucking throat. Oh my God. I would overhand throw Tiny Nicholas Chance at somebody.
The song is relatively short, but I feel like the words have a strong impact, and so the message is probably stronger than the music, you know?
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. I'm very excited to be welcoming on some Las Vegas homies. Nick from Distinguisher. Thank you so much for coming on the show, my friend.
What's up, man? Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I've been kind of introing a lot of these episodes. Well, first with partly my dogs barking in the background, but secondly, giving a little bit of context as to why I'm bringing on a certain guest on the show. So obviously, we got to link up for Northern Alliance Fest 2021, and I got to kind of see you guys in the flesh, and we chatted a bit after the show. And, with this upcoming EP that you guys have coming out and the new tour that's, to promote the record, it just kind of felt like this is the right time to have Nick on the show. So I'm really excited to be talking about that. And yeah, I'm just very humbled to have some of your time here today.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much. Like hanging out and like shooting at Northern Alliance was incredible. Like I followed your work for a long time. So this is really cool. Thank you.
That means a lot. And yeah, I'm very excited to kind of chat about that that combo between being in a band.
Showed up.
Yeah, that's always the thing. It's funny because she's the younger one and she'll just barrel and like open doors and do that. But my older dog will just like stand there frozen, like I can't use my body to open this door.
It's like if I move, they can't see me.
Yeah, exactly. But like I was saying, I'd like to kind of hit on like the aspect of being a musician, but also being a content creator in our space. I think there's some cool things to play on there. But obviously, we can't go any further without doing our bev check of the episode. So Nick, it's tradition for the guests to go first. Tell us what you're going to be drinking for the show today.
All right, so I'm gonna start this bad boy off with a good old pineapple Truly.
Very sick. Big swig right off the bat.
Oh,
love that.
Fun fact before we get into everything.
I love bev facts all the time. Hit me with it.
The original demo name for the track By Design off the EP was Pineapple Truly.
Really?
Yeah. It was Pineapple Truly from the start, and we kind of decided last minute, and we were like, we kind of want to swap this one out for one of the other songs. So that's how I made it on the record.
I love that. Do you have like a formula for like demo names or like anything like that? Like I've heard it from other people on the podcast where it's like
no formula. There's nothing. It's
honestly, Wild West.
Yes, it's whatever comes up to Bearden and Jake's brain, honestly. Because Bearden, he's our prime songwriter in the band. Like all of these ideas come from his brain pretty much. He's like he sends us something that's pretty much 80-90% of the way there. And we'll make revisions here and there. Like we've sat with normally Mondays are our band days. So we'll either practice, we'll get together and write over quarantine when everything initially shut down. The guys were getting together every Monday since they couldn't really go anywhere else. So they were all getting together at Bearden's. They'd send me like a song a week or like a song every other week. And we just amassed like 30 something songs that way. Like 25, 30 songs. So yeah, like as far as like demo names go, it's just whatever pops into their brain or whatever pops into our brain.
What's been one of your favorites, or do you want to keep the veil and the curtain fully closed for that?
Oh my God, Pineapple Truly was definitely it was my favorite for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty.
The demo name for Coffin of Pain. The demo name for Point Herbert. Yeah, okay. Herbie. So the demo name for Coffin of Pain, the 6th track on Under the Weight, was called Herbert for the longest time. And I don't know why, but it tickled me.
I don't know either. Why did we think of that?
I don't know. it just came about. Like I saw my email pinged in the morning when I woke up. He's like, you have a new demo, Herbert 03. I'm like, okay.
You're like, is this a scam? Is this a joke? Oh no, this is actually
this is
legit.
a legitimate one. We have a demo just that didn't end up making the cut for this particular record. That's called Cookies and Cream. So
that's great.
Sick. Oh my god,
that's a great name.
I'm excited for that song to eventually see the light of day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm hoping it's as sweet as that demo name for sure.
Oh, dude, I'm trying to make people cry. Straight up. I want people to boo-hoo sob and lighters up in the air. Like that's the vibe for that one. We have a song demo that was called 1 Million Pickles.
Not 99 pickles. 1 million.
1 million. And then we revised it and it became 1 million fucking pickles. Just to really hammer that home.
That's like when it's like, okay, we need a second version because this song now has a guest feature. It's like, let's add the word fucking to really
straight up deal. That's what happened for Open Letter. Like that song went through like maybe 2 or 3 different versions, and then I had the idea for a guest feature, and I don't mind talking about this. I originally like wanted Ben from Extortionist on it, but it just wasn't lining up with their particular timeline for when they were starting to roll their stuff out. So I hit up Joe from Fit. I was like, hey, it was right after that Body Snatcher Left to Suffer tour. I was like, hey, like, first of all, thanks for letting us hang out again at your shop. It was really sick. Thanks for letting me shoot around there. I have this song for my band Distinguisher that I think would be really sick to have you feature on. Like, we've all looked up to you for a long time. So, you know, if you want to at least take a peek at the song, like, that would be great. So he's like, yeah, just send it over. And he liked it and vibed off of it. And like within a couple of days, just had everything back to Bearden. And he just mixed it right in.
So Open Letter 1 million fucking pickles, or that's an entirely different
song? That is a completely different song.
He probably, if that was the song name, he'd be like, I don't know if I'm actually going to do this song or not.
Dude, 1 million pickles, its time will come. I promise you.
All right.
That ship will sail, I promise.
I'm looking forward for the 2-song promo of 1 million fucking pickles and Cookies and Cream.
Dude. Yo, Bearden. What 1 million pickles and Cookies and Cream. In the same way that we did Nothing Is Real and We All Suffer. Just the
like a double single?
Yeah, it's just the 2-song drop.
Man, you really want to make everyone cry, don't you?
Yes, I do. Fuck.
All right, I'm game.
So hey,
it's a salty and sweet combo for a music release.
Exactly.
So.
Like salted caramel chocolates, baby. Ooh.
Can I share with you how my band does our demo names?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this came off of there's a band from California called No Right. They came and played Calgary here, kind of pre-pandemic times. But Sierra, their vocalist, told me that they have a song called Sour, and every release was like a different theme for that. So I think for their latest EP, it was like different fruit and like like things in your kitchen.
That's okay. So, that's sick. That's really
so Sour was originally called Lemon, and then they're like, oh, like we can change it a little bit and it still sounds cool.
That's
so. I think I'm kind of doing the same thing for like my band's releases, and right now my theme is Pokemon moves.
Yes,
so we have like
there we go. Okay, TMs or HMs?
Oh yeah, good. I don't think we've done any HMs yet.
Ooh, okay.
So it's all been like TMs, and I'm trying to not.
Baby.
Yeah. This next song is called Strength.
Yes.
But yeah, I've been trying to like not stay in one I guess typing lane, because like any of the fire moves, all of them have the word flame or something like that. So like I have one song called
Flare Blitz, Flamethrower, Fire Spin.
Yeah. Oh, Fire Spin's actually a good one. We have a demo called Flame Wheel right now. So I'm also trying to think like generationally, like what are, you know, I don't want to just name a move like Growl or Scratch. I want to like, you know, cut into like
you want it to hit hard.
Yeah. Like there's one
Flame Wheel is hard. I'm not even gonna hold you. That's
once that song is like record it and has a proper name, I'll send it to you and be like, yo, this was Flame Wheel. And he's like, oh, okay.
Perfect. Let's go.
All right. Well, Nick, we've got a little bit of a tangent, but I'm loving the vibe. So you've checked Truly Pineapple. Did you feature the second bev, or have we gone so off the rails here?
No, the second bev is the Body Armor Peach Mango.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that before.
This is great. Like, I love Body Armor. It's basically flavored coconut water with like
Gotcha.
a bunch of like electrolytes, like antioxidants and shit like that.
Hmm.
It's like, I love it. It's really sick. The orange mango or the peach mango are my go-to favorites.
Duly noted. I'm always on the hunt for new stuff, and I got a work trip down in LA in a week or so, so I'm going to be on the hunt for that.
It's nice if you can find some peach mango ones. That's my vote.
Definitely. So Distinguisher's a very heavy metal band, so I have to check a heavy metal horchata, which is a beer from our one of our bev sponsors here on the show, from New Level.
Nice.
It's been a while since I've had that, and like, the horchata, you get like a little bit of sweet aspect of it. So, it's been a crazy, it's only Tuesday as far as the time we're recording this, and it's been a crazy long week. So I'm just here to check this and vibe with my boy.
If it's Tuesday and it's been a long week, then cheers to you, because we're in the same boat here, bud.
Yes, sir. Nick. Again, very excited to have you on. The intro question that I always ask every new guest that comes on the show is a little bit about their like heavy music origin story. So take us way back in time, and just so we can get a little bit of context about, was it a video game? Was it like a top 10 breakdowns video on YouTube? What was kind of the path or the initial point to put you on the path that you're on?
Okay, so I grew up with my mom and my dad. Like, they were really big into like that, like glam metal, like, hair metal, like rock and roll scene, like that shit. My dad used to play in bands in and around Birmingham, playing drums for all like the local like glam rock and hair metal bands and shit. So like, I grew up watching him like play shows at like these biker clubs, all these different like hole in the wall venues, like dive bars, and like, I don't know why they let a kid like me in, but he convinced them to. And I was like, this is so sick. This is so cool. I remember being like 8, 9 years old and hearing Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park for the first time. Or it was Meteora. Like, I remember listening to Faint by Meteora, like off of Meteora, and just that song it did it. Like, that was the very first song I ever learned how to play on drums, very sloppily. Because like, I started out as a drummer before, moving on to like being the frontman of Distinguisher.
Okay.
That was the first song I ever learned how to play when I was like 9 years old, on my first like baby's first drum kit type thing. And like,
Right.
it was downhill from there. Not even downhill. Like, I love it. I remember coming across Story of the Year, like 8th going into 9th grade. Like, Page Avenue, that record sealed the deal. Like, I was like, I love screaming music. This is sick. And then I used to go to like early high school. We had this Christian venue in this youth center called The Fish in McCalla. That was like 15, 20 minutes away from my house. And every Friday they would have like a bunch of local bands. And if they could, they would try and swing it so that they got a date of like, these like regional bands like coming through and crisscrossing on tour. So like, I saw For Today there. I saw Whitechapel. I saw A Plea for Purging, like all kinds of bands like that. And that just like that, I know I said Whitechapel, but that early like Christcore movement, like really like did a number on me. I remember like listening to In the Midst of Lions for the first time and be like,
oh yeah, wow, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Dude,
wow,
that band rocks. That band is so sick. A Plea for Purging, so tight. Malevolence goes. Shiver goes. Golden Barriers goes. It's so sick. I love music like that, and that's what kind of like got me started. I remember going to see the Acacia Strain when I was 17, in my like skin tight red skinny jeans and my swoopy hair, and like wanting to mosh so bad, and I did it. And this like 300-pound guy just like elbow checked me, and like I almost did a backflip and just cracked my head on like the ground at this venue. and I ended up biting through my bottom lip, like
Oh
about
my
halfway through my
God.
bottom lip. So there was like a hole in my lip for like 2-3 weeks after that I just had to stuff. It sucked. Going to school and having to explain that away, like sophomore year that was a fun time. That was
Mhm.
sick.
It is so funny when you have some kind of like show injury and you're just in high school and then you're bringing it, and because most of the people who aren't within that space jump to like, oh, did you get in a fight, did you get jumped, or like, something like that. But you, like, most people that like understand the culture, like, take it on, they're just like, yeah, like, shit happens, and
Yeah,
they're like
it's
putting the
just
shit
like,
in your face or whatever it is.
it's just
um
like, it's just it's a thing. It's like,
yeah.
it's a wound of war, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the wound
Everybody
of war.
has mosh injury stories. It's like everybody and their mom who goes to these shows has something like that.
Right, totally, yeah.
Like I remember being, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Funny enough, my old band Hounds, we played a Birmingham date of this tour with Whitechapel, Psychroptic, and Culture Killer. And I was moshing a Culture Killer. Again, here we go. I was moshing a Culture Killer, and this dude tried to like wrap me up, like wrap his arm around my neck, and like all of my friends in the venue like mobbed this guy like en masse, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, that's wild. It was insane.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. When you going back a little bit, when you were saying you went to that venue called the Fish, and you were just mentioning like it's like a youth center for like all the young Christian kids. I'm just imagining the fish symbol that you would see on all those cars.
Oh
And
no,
that's
the
like
Jesus
at
fish.
the
That
doors.
was
Yeah, the
yes,
Jesus fish.
dude. It existed. The Jesus fish was there. Like I felt God in that Chili's that night.
Yeah, but like super recently had Joe from Advent on the show, and like that's a very similar trajectory for myself. Like I know that I wouldn't be as much into this without listening to the Gideons, the Under Oaths, the For Todays, initially when I was kind of getting into it, because had that upbringing, and then that just kind of introduced me into seeing those bands. I remember seeing the only time I got to see Plea for Purging was at
Oh,
Sunshine Fest 2011.
such
And
a good band, dude.
oh, so good. I would
That's one
love
of
to
my
have
favorite
Andy
bands.
on the
Like
show one day.
easily top 5 from that like time period.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2008 to 2013. Like they were top 5 for me, easy.
I almost feel like they were like early when it comes to their.
Dude, they were
their
so
music
ahead of their
stuff.
time. Honestly,
Mhm.
like, oh my god, A Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Go back and listen to that record in full.
Mhm.
Like, do yourself a favor today. Go listen to that in full from front to back. It's incredible. Some of the shit that they were writing was like, who lets you do this? Why? Who told you this is okay? I'm glad they did, but oh my
Right.
god.
Yeah, it's really crazy, especially with some of those things when you see a band that like was undoubtedly like amazing, but then like years after you're like, holy crap, like you were like someone in your band is a time traveler and went like 5 years ahead
Yes,
and
I
saw
remember,
what was popular and brought that back, and no one was ready for it yet.
I remember seeing A Plea for Purging so many times. And I mean so many times in like VFW halls, like church cafeteria floors, like
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. Like gymnasiums of like high schools that were somehow cool with us having shows there. Like
Mhm.
I saw that band more than I saw any other band of that time period because they
Mhm.
were from Nashville. Like every time they would come through on tour, like or anytime they like left the greater like Middle Tennessee area, like 9 times out of 10 it would hit Birmingham. Their second to
Mhm.
last show ever was in Birmingham, and I got my shit rocked. Their second to last song, and I was like, I don't even care. Like this band is sick. I don't care. Like my tooth was feeling a little loose that night. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but it's still
Your adult tooth, not even an old tooth.
my full like grown up teeth. No baby teeth, no nothing.
Oh man, you have like all these like loose baby teeth, one hit, and they're all like they come
Dude,
out like
I was
a.
just like I was moshing my little ass off at that show. Like I was like this. I was emotional. Like I was like cry moshing. It was sick. And then like I just this fist met my face, like closed fist, like into my chin. I was like, ow. Okay, I get it.
Right.
And then I just like, I was like, all right, like it is what it is.
I'm very curious on how, because like Plea for Purging was like flying the flag of like we're fatcore and like all that kind of stuff. And I almost feel thick. Like in our very sensitive culture now that like someone would still find a way to complain about that. Like you can't say that. It's like no, we are fat people. Like
I mean, like people are entitled to like whatever opinion they want to have. I'm not going to tell anybody no, but like it's like you said, like that was them. That was their thing. Like they knew what they were and they owned it. And I respect it. I respect that band a lot. That band is incredibly cool. Incredible band in my opinion.
Maybe one thing that you can clarify for me, Nick. So like it doesn't sound like you actually grew up in Las Vegas. Like you grew up in Alabama?
Yes. I was born and raised in I was born in Birmingham, and I was raised in a little town called West Blockton, Alabama. Okay. That's interstate wise, its location is equidistant in between Tuscaloosa and Birmingham. So I would find myself like going to Birmingham a lot, like, when, because I grew up with my mom and dad separated. So I was going to Birmingham a lot to see him. I would come back home to mom and my stepdad and everything. My stepdad was a really big University of Alabama fan. So I would go down there to Tuscaloosa with him a lot. And my mom and my dad are really big Auburn fans, like Auburn University fans. My dad was born and raised in Opelika, Alabama. So I would go to like East Alabama all the time for like Auburn University games. So I was just I was born and grew up in like Central Alabama.
I got you. Mm-hmm. So what eventually brought you to Vegas?
So my dad moved around. My dad moved around a lot. He went from Birmingham. He moved to Orlando for a little while. He lived in Mississippi for a while. And then he just progressively moved further and further out west. For a couple years, he lived in Denver, Colorado. So I would go out. It was I say Denver. It's a little town, like a little outside of Denver called Castle Rock. And I would go visit there all the time and just like hang out like every other summer or like, over Christmas break, like that kind of stuff. And then he moved to Las Vegas. My first show I went to in Las Vegas, outside of coming here to see dad and my stepmom Mel and my brother Ryder, my first show was February 2018. It was the first date of what all of us know as February Flex. It was Distinguisher, Born Anew, and Castaway from San Jose, California. And the first date of that tour was, I think, Bearden, was that an American Legion or what venue or
for Flex?
No, it was Eagle Airy.
It was Airy. Yeah.
Okay. There are two VFW halls in Vegas that a lot of like most of like the hardcore and metalcore leading shows like get booked at, and that's Eagle Airy Hall and American Legion Post 8. They're both VFW halls that are just really cool with us having shows. So my first show in Vegas was at Eagle Airy for the Distinguisher, Born Anew, Castaway tour kickoff. And I was like, this shit is sick. This is sick. I had seen Distinguisher before I was in the band. Before that, in May of 2017, it was on their run with Traders and Dealey Plaza. They were coming back up from Florida. My old band was supposed to play. We ended up not being able to play, but I went anyway because my best friend Blake's band, Amnesty Please, was playing that show. So I went anyway. And like, fun fact, like the current lineup of Distinguisher all got a selfie together because I was all friends with them like on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, like, really?
Before that show. So we all got a selfie together before their set that night. And it's a really cool full circle moment. Like, it was really sick. I was a fan of Distinguisher like before I joined the band. And like, it was just like, it was really cool. But that's how I got introduced to going to shows in Vegas.
the fact that you guys got a selfie with like what the current lineup is, but just like the serendipity of all that is like really, really funny to me.
It was such a full circle moment. We were talking about that after we took our first set of promos in Vegas in early 2019. In early 2019, it was right before we started recording all my stuff for Hell From Here, which that was my first time recording vocals fully for a band ever. Like I had really never put my voice on anything like that before. I had just done like the occasional guest spot with my friends, like my friends' bands. And I thought that was sick. And
was that more of like your friends being like, yo, you need to do vocals in a band, or was that like a self-imposed kind of thing?
Like I felt like I had a lot of people in my corner, like, you know, just who are cool with me, just like, you know, doing that and kind of expressing that about myself. Like my friends like Blythe Cyrus and Shannon and like Alex Favre from back home, they all like were just like, whatever makes you happy, whatever avenue that takes, is like we're about it. Like send it, just do what you need to do. And after playing drums in Hounds and playing drums for just like 3 bands before that, I was just like, I want to still do this, but I want like a little bit of a change. I don't like, truth be told, after like I split with Hounds the second time, I just didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't really have any kind of plan other than, okay, I'm just going to tour full time. I'm going to take photos. I'm going to make videos. I'm just going to do that. And then like, we just like Distinguisher and we fell into each other's lap at the right place at the right time. It was the right place, the right time scenario. And it's been working ever since.
Yeah. So let's fast forward a little bit to what's happening right now. So you guys are putting out this new EP. I think as far as the time we're recording this, it will already be out. So the EP is called Under the Weight of Things I Couldn't Change. You know, since right now there's a couple singles that are coming out, and I think comparing those 2 singles from that release to like, you know, I guess you guys did like 3 singles kind of over like the initial pandemic.
Yeah.
I felt like those were just really leaning into like the heaviness of the band and the crazy, like chaotic nature, while maybe some of the singles before maybe had a little bit more of like pop structures or even like just a little bit more melody to them. So just talk to me about that EP and the vibe that you wanted to set off of the follow-up from those singles, I guess.
I'm glad you mentioned the pop structure thing, because that's something that we always try to keep a solid like song structure in mind whenever we go into anything. Obviously, for everything that has been heard off of Under the Weight so far, it is more chaotic. It is more like energetic and frenetic in nature, but like it's still, we try to make that flow smoothly, and then just, you know, throw curveballs here and there. Like the Open Letter, it had like the driving like 2-step like verse part that kind of like acted as a chorus, you know, when Joe came in later in the song, and I like took the lead on like the first part of it. Without End, it's just like that song just, it admittedly has riff after riff after riff, and it's sick. And like Bearden like wrote that super huge like Thali chorus for the middle, that one. It's, I don't know, it's really sick. We definitely experimented more with our like chaotic side, our more aggressive side on this EP. But the first couple of songs we released over quarantine, that was just, we just wanted to like take a step outside of our own comfort zone.
Okay.
Because like What's Left of Us was a great record, and that like defined the very start of Distinguisher's sound. That's the reason I was a fan of this band, the reason I'm in this band now. That would have happened without that record. And then I came into Hell From Here with everything pretty much like fully written outside of like 3 or 4 songs lyrically. So I just got with the guys, and we just like, you know, we workshopped those last like 3 or 4 songs, and it worked out really well. And that record was great. Love that record still to this day. I'll go back and listen to like No Luck and Split and Cycle and Lay Me to Rest and shit like that. So tight. Nobody catches the Godsmack rip on Isolate, and that still blows my mind to this day.
Like is it
like lyrically, there's like a Godsmack rip.
Lyrically, okay, I got
yes. So it's so sick. Not a single person has caught that.
I mean, that's no different than my band doing like a riff that's like literally one note off from being the Halo 2 like guitar riff
Dude, okay,
intro.
that's hard though.
So
That's sick. But, the first 3 singles we put out over like the last year or so was our first foray into writing music as Distinguisher is now. That was our like first experience, like all 4 of us writing and inputting everything like together. And that's how those 3 songs were made. And those 3 songs will always stay special to me because we did it like that.
Yeah.
And
so that's
ever since that, we just kind of we've expanded off everything.
So that's really interesting to me that like your band took the time in quarantine to, instead of like make your best record ever or whatever, to like experiment and try that. And to me, that almost sounds like a bit of a riskier play, because like it's pushing into a direction where it's like, oh, is this what this band is doing now? But you guys seem to embrace that. So like, did those songs even exist prior to that, or is like, hey, let's push into this realm that has like a singing chorus here and there, or like, I'm just kind of curious on that, because I feel like I haven't heard from any other bands of that kind of pursuit to utilize that time during that time.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. I hate belching. Ugh. I do it all the time. But Nothing is Real and We All Suffer were the first 2 songs that the current lineup of Distinguisher wrote together. So either way the wind blew, we wanted those 2 to come out first. Like that was our first legitimate exercise in writing and acting and truly being the unit that we are now. And those songs, like they had to happen how they happened. And I think we're a better band for that. We did play around with like the cleaner choruses and that kind of style on Hell From Here a little bit. Like if you listen to Spiral and Cycle and Lay Me to Rest especially, those songs, they're very like pop structure influenced. They're very like sing-songy choruses. Lay Me to Rest a little bit more so. Cycle was really up there, especially for Bearden. That was like his baby. He put a lot of himself into that song, into Cycle, and it's so sick. But we've played a little bit with the sing-songy structure, or like the more like softer or melodic elements of our sound, and that's how We All Suffer came apart. We wanted to like showcase our heavy side with Nothing Is Real, that gritty like grungy hook at the end, with Bearden's more like clean, like pitched chorus type stuff for We All Suffer. And it's just like we wanted to play off that duality, because we don't want to be one band that kind of like puts ourselves in a box. Like we have extremes of our heavy side and we have extremes of our softer side. So we just kind of unconsciously or subconsciously made the decision to just expand on our extremes. Like we know we have a middle ground that we operate and perform exceedingly well in, but those extremes, like catching people with like a slam that they're never going to forget, and in the next song have like a chorus that is just going to like capture them like fully. It's so cool. Like there's nothing like that.
So why do you think most bands, maybe in like not even just in your genre, but just bands in general, might be hesitant to expand or like try to like push the boundaries of what their sound is? Like it sounds like it was like very seamless, like you said, whether it was intentional or unintentional, it just kind of happened that way. But why do you think that some bands maybe only stick in like one lane and then that's all they're known for? Because I'm a true believer that bands that do like blossom end up being like some of the best bands in the game. But curious on your thoughts on that.
Like every band is like formulaically different. Like, everybody has their own formula. Like these people who find one avenue and stick with it and really hammer down on that, like in most cases, they're better for it because they have crafted and created their own product that is like, you hear it and it's like, oh, it's this band. Like
Mm.
another great band. Like two examples are like Gideon and Those Who Fear. Like those bands have stuck to what they're doing. Gideon kind of like got a little like not got a little weird. Like it wasn't weird. It's a really sick record. But the last record they put out was what a lot of people perceived as different. They started cussing. They started, not like doing as much the whole like Christian metalcore thing as they were doing over the last like 3-4 records. And like it threw people for like a curveball. But sonically, they're very percussive. Like both those bands are incredibly percussive bands, and they just dove straight into that. They hammered that home. They're like, this is our vibe. Like this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna stick with it. So like, there's something to be said for people like maintaining their current course. And Distinguisher takes a lot of influence from that. We're very percussive, very impactful too. Like we love big drops. We love shit that hits. We like breakdowns. That's not to say that we're not going to come out of left field occasionally with like a really just like emotional, like pulling on your heartstrings type hook. And like, that's what Cookies and Cream, that demo I was talking about earlier, is kind of meant for. We're trying to like, we're trying to write shit that like pulls at your heartstrings. But it's like, it's all just like a give and take. Like what works for one band might not work for another band, and vice versa. Everybody has their own formula. Everybody has their own like process to doing it. And whatever works for you, because the results, you can't lie about that.
Yeah. So how much of that is your job as the vocalist of the band? Because there's like the hook of like what hooks someone, and whether that's like a different licking and a guitar, like orchestrating a certain drop to be away, and there's like the vocals. So like what goes into planning out like how, like what is the big, like this is the moment that we're really gonna capture people in the song from your eyes?
So personally, like We All Suffer was written pretty much entirely by Jake and Beard. Like Nothing Is Real, like I wrote and patterned all of that lyrically, and my other three boys, they like helped me like shape up certain stanzas, like certain like drops and stuff here and there as need be. But We All Suffer was written pretty much by Jake and Bearden, and I just filled in like one opening paragraph. So I don't want to be the type of band member that sits here and is like, oh, like we're gonna do this because I'm the front man and I'm the vocalist and it has to be this way for X, Y, and Z. Like whatever benefits the song, benefits the band, benefits me. So like whatever form the music has to take to like become the best it's meant to be is the avenue that I'm going to take. Now I did take I took the lead on writing everything like lyrically and like patterning it all out for the EP. Like that all, like I had a vision for all of that. Like I sat there in my house in Alabama, like over quarantine. I did nothing but sit in my house and practice. Like I practiced, I wrote, and it was just that, like rinse, repeat, wake up, make coffee, write, practice, write more, practice more, go to sleep. Same thing, A after B after C after D. Like it was just constant. So I took the lead on writing everything for this EP, but Jake and Brad and Bearden, they all had ideas on certain specific songs. They're like, hey, maybe you should try this here. Maybe you should, try a different cadence here. And Jake and I are really good about that because we're both drummers. We're all about patterns. So like he's like try X, Y, Z. And I was like, okay, cool. So we would try it like for certain songs like Dying Light. There's a couple patterns in there that Jake and I like bounced back and forth on. And it all ended up just like coming together seamlessly. It just, everything has felt really organic. So like whatever avenue that the music needs to take to be what it is meant to be is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it really reminds me when I had Will Putney on the show, and he was mentioning like when he produces bands and he's like, I'm not trying to fight for something because I'm trying to be right. It's like I just want the best ideas to win. And ever since he said that, that's been like very resonating with me, is like it's the best idea for the song, lyrically, even if it's like you're voted against. I think just taking a step back and being like, okay, well, this is to make this song better. And if I can remove some bias, if I'm the songwriter or the lyricist, that practice can really make the overall songwriting process just overall better for everyone.
It's just like that whole like removing that personal bias and having those like upfront honest conversations with these guys about like how we write songs and how we've approached everything for the last like 8 to 12 months. It's been really freeing, and it's like opened my eyes and ears up to like a whole different way to like write songs. Like I don't have to do everything myself, and none of them have to do everything themselves. Like we just like, it's just a dartboard. We just toss shit at it, and if it sticks, it sticks, and we'll just keep rinsing and repeating until like we did that until we had this record. And this this is the most quintessential D Team record today.
Yeah, I saw that your Spotify is like the D Team picks or something like that.
Oh yeah,
like,
D Team's top picks, dude. That's all curated by Jake.
Yeah.
He's really good at that shit.
Do you have you ever made shirts that just say D Team?
No,
like
and I really want to. I have a whole look, bro. We're gonna get into this right now, okay? I have a whole like summer themed, like or summertime like rugby themed merch line in my brain that I haven't been able to stop thinking about for 2 years. And I just like I want it so bad. I want the socks. I want the little hand towels that are embroidered that say D Team. I want the jerseys. I want one jersey to say 127 for full snare velocity. And I want the other jersey in the opposite colorway.
That's nerdy as fuck.
Dude, yes, you get it. Like programming MIDI drums, everything's at 127. Always.
Yes.
I want the other jersey in the opposite colorway to say 928 because that is the street number for where Rulao was written. Like I
back this idea. This is a great idea.
Back to like, you know, the people who were there at the beginning, because if they weren't there, then I wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be where we are. So everything like it all goes to the people who support you. Like I want to do something cool like that. In my opinion, it's cool. Like,
I've never heard anyone say a rugby line. So I think you guys should be
all my guys grew up like playing rugby, like in high school and shit like that, and like college. Like they all played rugby, and that was something I hadn't been exposed to until I started like coming out to Vegas like all the time. And it's so sick. It's so cool. I don't know a lick of shit about rugby, but I know it's really sick. It's really sick to watch the people tackle each other. It's really awesome.
I would say if it was a requirement to know the sport of the rip that your band is doing,
absolutely
most merch would not exist. I'll just say that.
Well, see, that's why I have these 3 guys behind me, because they know the ins and outs. They know the ups and downs. Like Brad's dad, he used to like organize the rugby sevens tournaments like every summer for like year after year after year a couple of years ago. Like so, and they've all like grown up playing it. And I just think it would be a really cool like nod to where they came from, like to their background. You know, just cool shit like that. You know, just to make people feel like we're, you know, them. Like we don't want to be a band that's like, oh, you can't fucking talk to us because we're X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, we're just like you. We like sports. We like hanging out. We like playing video games. Dude, we have a t-shirt rip on this next merch spread for this tour. It's so sick.
Are you allowed to say what it is? Oh, Nick froze for me. Wait a second. Jordan, are you there? Am I frozen?
No, you're good. It was just taking me a long time to unmute.
Okay. Is he frozen?
Yeah, he's frozen.
Okay. We'll just
Nick froze 4730. What a problematic podcast this is.
Maybe his phone died. Oh, and he's gone.
And he's gone.
And You gone?
Oh, shit, he's back.
Oh, there we go.
We back.
Okay, cool. I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened.
Dude, it's if it's problematic on my end, it has to be problematic for everyone else. So.
Dude, it's that chaos energy, dude.
It's
the D-team chaotic energy. Like,
yeah.
It's gonna happen.
So, okay, let's pick up from you were mentioning that you have a shirt rep for the tour, and I was like, oh, I'm dying to know what that is.
Oh, dude, I'll send you pictures of it, but I don't want to spoil the surprise too early.
Okay. I appreciate the you want to keep it, in the family.
I just
now.
like, it's like the merch drops, like record releases, like putting anything out. It's like, it's so sick. It's like a surprise. Like,
right.
you get to craft this experience for these people and just watch them experience it in real time. That's so sick. That's the coolest thing about being any kind of artist, whether you're a musician, whether you paint, whether you take photos, whether you're a sculptor, like you're a pottery maker. You get to craft this experience and people see the finished product. And then you get to explain to them, like, if they care, about how every minute detail like came to pass. And it's so sick. It's so fucking cool. Making shit is the best thing about being alive.
I love that. That's probably my favorite thing that you've said on this whole podcast. You've said a lot of great things, but I really like that one specifically.
Making shit is literally the best thing about being alive, hands down.
It was even better the second time. So when we're talking about the EP itself, you clearly give a shit about your art and what you say. So when you were crafting kind of what someone would feel when they're listening to this and what they're like listening to what you're talking about and even reading, tell me a little bit about the why behind maybe not each song specifically, but the overarching theme that you were trying to set.
Okay, so Under the Weight of Things I Couldn't Change, if you listen to Nothing Is Real, there's a line that says, but I broke under the weight of things I couldn't change. And that's just like, that was when that song came out, obviously like mid quarantine, like I didn't know what was happening. None of us knew what was happening. Like, excuse me, we'd all been stuck in our houses. Like, what the hell is going on? It's just like we felt like we were like pressed underneath this giant monumental like weight, and it wasn't moving. There was no end in sight. And with this EP, I kind of piggybacked off that theme to create this little world that Under the Weight is. And the first track, Point Willow, harks back to where Bearden like works out of. Like his studio and everything is on a street called Point Willow. And that's where this record came to fruition at. Like it all came from here. So the first track on the EP is Point Willow. Then you go into a track like By Design, which is just me being just so overwhelmingly like mad. Like I had to channel that at someone or something. So I just put all of that like anger and negativity that I've just been like bottling up and put it into that song and just sent it out in the universe. That's what that song is. A lot of like the lyrical content, just like it waffles back and forth from shit that I've been dealing with over like the course of these last 2 years. And I feel like that's like a little bit of a little tropey. It's like, oh, hey, like everybody went through shit in the last 2 years. I'm just speaking off this record, like what I personally went through and what we personally went through. Cause like, it wasn't really easy for a lot of us. Like a lot of us just, the same as everybody else. We had like friends and family in and out of the hospital. Like there are people here today that should be, that aren't, because of everything that's happened in the last couple of years. And it just like, it sucks. It breaks you down. Like it leaves you like squeezed like tofu, like you're pressed underneath that huge weight, and it's just crushing and crushing and crushing, and it feels like you can't go anywhere. But within that like crushing presence, there is a solace. It's like you can mold yourself to be what you need to be through that. Like, yeah, that tofu analogy just came straight out of my ass.
Yeah, I had to laugh at that. That
Dude,
was funny.
It came straight. I pulled that from my ass, but
Pressed
it
like
works.
tofu.
Like you get pressed until you think you can't withstand anymore, but you mold yourself and you become something that you need to be to survive.
I really hope
kind
there's
of what this record is about.
Yeah, I really hope there's an alternate version of the record once it's out that's just like a clip art picture of someone pressing down tofu
Oh yes,
on a table.
Oh, the SpongeBob album artworks.
Yeah, yes. But yeah, no, I really, and I appreciate you saying that because, yeah, like I think a lot of people were like, we've all gone through stuff, but I think everyone's been receiving what's happening and outputting in their own unique way. And
Dude,
that could be through music, that could be through, like changing things in their life and staying like this podcast for me was definitely like, if I didn't have the opportunity to spend time with people, even like an hour or so, just to be able to talk about stuff, like I know that was really important for me. And I almost felt an extra sense of guilt knowing that I was helping people go through this whole time to be able to talk to like their favorite musicians, not even about COVID, but just like about how things are and in anticipation for things to have turned, which they have.
It's just like, it's so crazy. Like this whole experience is like I said, it's about like being forced to accept the things that you can't change. So you have to mold yourself to become like what you need to. And me sharing this experience with everybody else, us sharing this experience with everybody else is like, I want people to take away what they want to from this release. Like I'm going to speak on what I went through and what we went through, because like at the end of the day, none of us are the same as we started out writing this record. And I'm lucky enough to be with these guys who are still my number one teammates, who are still my star players. Like we have each other's backs no matter what. And that hasn't changed. And that's not going to change, because if I didn't have this band and if we didn't have each other, then this just wouldn't exist. Like you're forced to confront these like almost insurmountable like scenarios in times like these. And like for the majority of the last year and a half, I felt like I was imploding. Like I felt like I was just collapsing in on myself. But that forces you, and it's forced us to like really sit back and evaluate, like just reevaluate like who we are, where we're at, and what we want to be. So that's just the whole theme of this record, I guess, is just what it is what it is. You can't change it. You're always going to be faced with stuff that you can't change. So how are you going to mold yourself, and how are you going to become what needs to be in order to get over it and get to the next thing?
What do you think has improved the most for you personally since the beginning of this record to now?
I used to suffer, like I still do, like I suffer a lot with like self-imposed like anxiety, and Without End was my catharsis for that. Like that song is just like the whole repeating over and over again. I'll run myself in circles, like, just about this, that, and the third, trying to like justify the means to an end, or, like why shit happened the way that it did. And creating that song in this record is like, okay, like you have to be able to like roll with these punches. And I feel like I'm better for that after this year and a half of writing this record. I feel like I have the ability to like recover easily, like more easily than I used to. I used to get stuck and hung up on shit that I was just like so worried about, and I thought was like the end of the world. And it's like, now I'm hit the point. It's like, okay, shit happens. Take it for what it is, but how can you bounce back? How can you recover? How can you use this as some kind of positivity to springboard into the next thing? So like learning to like play the hand you're dealt has been a thing that I've learned over the last year and a half.
Yeah. Like I've always said, like, you don't get to choose the cards you get to play with. You just choose how you get to play with them. And, a lot of people are dealt terrible hands, whether it's like on just a life setup, or like maybe they have like a personal like health thing. But that doesn't mean,
compared to other people, my hand might seem infinitely better than their hand.
Right. But the pain is still relevant person to person, right?
Yeah, it's all case by case.
Yeah. But I do think that it is cool to like realize, and this is with band stuff as well as it is life, that like you actually learn more by the missteps and the failures than you would like the accolades and the achievements. Like, because you actually like see something and you can apply that. But sorry, you go.
Success, any kind of success is just failure repeated 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to suck. You're going to fail. You're going to fall flat on your face. You're going to get your shit ripped out from under you more times than you can count. But success at the end of that road is just a culmination of you learning what sticks and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you can pick that out, and as long as you can like stick to who you are and what you know is like true and what you know is the right path, then you'll be good. It's just not like you can fail and fail and fail and fail and fail, but that one success at the very end of that road is going to be the sweetest thing you'll ever experience.
1,000%. And I think a lot of people will fail once and then check out. And that could be with their band, maybe not getting that tour offer or not being able to play that fest. But like, it really is like doing something 99 times and being told no. And then the 100th time it's like, oh yeah, we'll give it a shot. And then it changes everything.
Yes. And it's it's such a long road, but it's so like fulfilling when you finally get that like sweet taste of victory, or that one thing that just goes right when you need it to. It's like, I put in the work to get here. Like, we put in the work. Like, we made this. And now it's like, it's coming to fruition. Like, it's paying off.
Yeah.
And like, in whatever way, shape, or form that takes for anybody personally, that's their victory to celebrate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think like the thing that I always remind people, because I try to be as like, you know, I talk about my own process with my own bands, with this podcast as it grows. Like, I know it's going to look, I know because of the road ahead as far as how my work ethic is matched to like what I want this podcast to be one day. I know that we'll eventually get to the guests I want to and or the numbers that we want to, but being in the thick of it and understanding that like, yeah, it could take time, and also understanding that like nothing is actually guaranteed. You could actually work your face off for 10 years, but like it doesn't guarantee that something's going to happen.
Dude, nothing is real. Nothing is real.
Nothing is real.
But also like like my bassist Brad says all the time, is like the universe will reward the energy that you put into it. He's a big believer, and what you put out, you will get back. And that's helped me out a lot. Like he and I will go like 2-3 weeks without speaking to each other outside of the band chat, and then we'll have one phone call, and it's just like everything's back to like everything's okay again. It's super sick. His outlook and his view on shit like that has definitely helped center me a lot.
Yeah. I just think it's like the best case scenario if you want to achieve something, to just like create a discipline for yourself.
If you want something, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Like nobody's holding my hand. Nobody's holding Bearden's hand. Nobody's holding Jake's hand or Brad's hand or your hand or anybody else's hand. Like, if you want something and you believe in that, like, you will go to whatever lengths to chase that.
Absolutely. So, so we've hit a lot of the why of the record. And you know, a part of that record, you guys are hitting the road and like going for like a long time, which is like really cool to see, because I think a lot of bands have been like, here's like our week thing, or like our week, like 4 shows. And you're like, here's like the big ass tour poster.
Dude, here's a 5-week tour, baby.
Yeah.
Dude,
which
I want to be on tour
really
all the time. I want to be on tour all the time. Since October of last year, like to now, I've been home maybe 3.5 weeks. Maybe. That's being generous, dude. Like,
yeah.
Since I left for that Body Snatcher Left to Suffer tour doing photos last year, like, I was home for like roughly 3-ish weeks from December 10th to January 5th. And then I left for that Fit for an Autopsy tour doing photos on that. And I was home, I think, for like a week, maybe a week and like 3 days in between that and this tour. And now we're just spending the rest of the week rehearsing and getting ready for our first tour in like almost 2 years or over 2 years. And it's so cool. Like it's so sick. Don't get me wrong. I love touring with all these other bands and incredible artists and getting to capture them in their element. But it feels good to be back in ours.
Yeah.
It feels
totally.
It feels so good, dude.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to want to hit on that eventually, but like when that lineup was announced, I just so good because
Dude.
Mugshot is criminally underrated.
Dude,
in my
they
opinion.
are cracked. That band is sick.
Like honestly, one of my
Peter
favorite
Rono
EPs
doesn't
from
come
last
do
year.
his guest spot in Philadelphia, I'm gonna riot. You can put this as a clip to put on the internet. Peter, I'm talking
Please.
to you. If you don't come out and do that guest spot for Mugshot at the Fire in Philly, I'm gonna riot.
Let's make it happen. It's on the podcast, so it better fucking happen.
The ball's in his court now.
Right.
You got to show up, bud.
Yeah, and then so to see Mugshot, Cell, and even the Willow, the Willow I got exposed to through Northern Alliance as well.
God,
it was like
dude,
blown away.
that band is so sick.
And what was so I think that they were the third set that I put out because I always like to like poll the people and see who gives a fuck about what. And I was talking, I think, with the guitar player, and because they played the side stage, so they was like, yeah, it was a little bit different because we didn't have like of our backtracking kind of stuff. Yeah. I was like you fooled me because
I think their backtracks were also like acting up that day. And if you watched that band on that stage that day, you couldn't tell because they just rocked the fuck out.
100%.
Travis, like one of the best frontmen I've seen in a long time. That kid has just got it. Like that's my boy. I love him to death. He's got it.
Yeah.
Like
so,
from the look to his presence to how he sounds to just the amount of care that he puts in it each and every performance. It's so sick.
Yeah.
Love it to death.
Yeah. So like when you were thinking about the lineup for this tour, it definitely seems like, there's some connections through, doing, you've done some video work for the Willow and things like that. But like, did you just like, let's just put together like the craziest like sounding lineup?
Dude, we wanted a lineup, first of all, that was going to make people go, what the fuck are they like? What are you on? Like, what are you like? Why? You didn't have to do that, but why? I love it,
right.
But why? Like, Mugshot was in the running from the start. That band is fucking incredible. We also we want to bring our friends on tour just as much as we would like for our friends to bring us. So we wanted it to include the Willow and Extortionist on it because they're some of our best friends. Like Extortionist and Distinguisher, like, oh my God, that's a riot in and of itself. Like me and Ben are terror twins. Jake and Ben are they feed off each other like little fucking demons. They'll just pick at each other. They're like, we all vibe together so well. So like we wanted Extortionist to be on at least some of this tour with us. And Cell is insane, dude. Like that was one of the bands that Travis Porter, our new booking agent from Forthright, he came to us. Was like, hey, he's like, why not think about this band as like support for your like Midwest, Southeast, going up the East Coast stuff. And they drop off right before we actually hit the Northeast, which sucks, but it is what it is. They're cracked. They're so sick. They're so heavy. Like it's insane.
Yeah. I got to see them
I'm legitimately nervous to follow that band on tour because they're just punishingly heavy. That band is so sick.
Yeah, I got to see them at Promcore, and it was just like leading up to it, I knew it was just going to be just like there's like heavy bands and then there's like scary heavy bands. And I feel like
Yes.
Cell falls into that because I actually feel like scared
Yes, dude.
watching
I
them.
love bands
But
that
in the
like
best way.
make you
In the
feel
best way.
terrified when you're
Mhm.
watching them. It's like
Mhm.
I'm fucking scared and I love it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very excited. And yeah, like all the details for that tour will be in the show description.
I'm
So
really excited for this lineup. All these bands are just bands that we like and
Mhm.
we feel deserve to be on the road right now. And if we
Right.
can, have them join us on our tour, that's just like we would love to extend that opportunity to them. So I personally, and I think I speak for the rest of us, we're incredibly thankful that all of these bands decided to join us on this tour.
Yeah, I'm very stoked. Let's transition a little bit here, Nick. So I know in addition to doing Distinguisher, you're also, like you mentioned, like doing photos and videos. So as someone that does a similar feat of that myself, a little bit different because it's more of like the archiving versus like I'm doing like the content creation kind of stuff. It's still content, but it's just like for um it's to be consumed in different ways, I guess I could
Yes.
say. So I guess like one thing, because I ride hard for a lot of the photographers and the videographers of the world, because I see the need when bands are going out on tour. So I'm kind of curious if you could speak to that of like, as someone who has done that for bands, but also a band that like needs that and like, sees the value in that. I'm just kind of curious on your thoughts because I think it's very easy for me to come on here as more, because I'm the same way. I play in a band and I do this, but like I think being able to understand where bands are coming from, if they're like, what do you mean pay someone to come out on tour and do this thing? So break that down however you want to.
It's definitely like at times it's a double-edged sword, being like a full-time content creator who specializes in like documenting bands live and then going into it, as a band member who has who needs live documentation. Like I know what I want to see, like in regards to like my band and my performance and everything. And Olivia, um, our live photographer, she's coming with us again on this tour. Like she picks up on our energy incredibly well. Like she feeds off of us performing on stage. She's always somehow in the right place at the right time, which is a skill that after years I'm still trying to cultivate. Like I don't know how she does it. It's insane. But she's always at the right place at the right time. It feels like. And it's just she definitely understands what we're going for. And it's just really cool to like vibe off of that. Like as a touring like content creator, like as somebody who travels to like create content for bands like this yourself, you have to like at least be able to mesh with a band to some point to know like what's going to happen where. It's like, okay, like I am like, you can clearly pick up on the energy and a vibe of a band while they're performing. And that's how I operate all the time whenever I shoot shows. It's like you feel the energy of the song and you let it like direct you to be where you need to be. And that's how I approach like live photography and live videography for bands. It's like obviously like for bands like Great American Ghost and Born Anew, who I've toured with before, I know their music. Like I know what parts hit where. Like I know when Nico is gonna do a jump. I know when Sax from Born Anew is gonna just like do one of his like myriad of tom fills because he loves those. He loves those tom breaks and those big drum breaks. So sick. So I know when to be where for bands like that. But even if it's a band you've never shot before, even if it's an artist you've never worked with before, if you like, that's why I like shooting bands that I'm a fan of. And that's obviously best case scenario. It's not going to happen every time. But if you can create that subconscious connection to the song while it's happening, you'll put yourself in a better place to make the content that you need from that event.
Right. Yeah, I think nothing, and I've talked to Jordan, who's producer of this podcast, who helps me film a lot of shows here in Calgary. Like, there's nothing more satisfying for me when it's a band that I have no previous knowledge of, or it's like I'm seeing this band. I'm having a I'm going in blind essentially,
Mhm.
but there's nothing more rewarding for me when I can like be zoomed in on the drummer and I know exactly when that like weird fill is like
Yeah,
gonna
because you
hit.
can tell, you can pick it up by how you can pick up on it. Words are hard. You can pick you can pick up on it while the song's going. You can feel them start to like ramp up. Their energy starts to become more chaotic, more erratic.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I need to focus because something's about to happen, and then it
Mhm.
clicks, and it's such a rewarding feeling. It's
Yeah.
so sick. Getting that shot, you know what I'm talking about. Getting the
Oh,
shot.
yes. Hmm.
I'm obsessed with that, like that notion, like in like concert documentation right now, is
Yeah.
getting the shot. Because like you can feel when something is about to happen. You know, you get that feeling in your chest and your gut that something big is about to happen. And if you're in the right place at the right time, you can just you're in a prime position to capture a memory that's going to last for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Even if like 10, 15, 20, 30 years, nobody gives a shit about this. One person will see a photo and be like, that's a moment in time that just exists.
Mhm.
It's captured forever. And
Yeah.
that's the cool thing about documenting this scene that a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people will gloss over and be like, oh, it's a metal band. Oh, it's a
Mm.
hardcore band, whatever. You're still documenting something that means something. Like 10, 20, 30 years down the road, people are going to look back on this shit and be like, damn, that was a wild ass time. I wish I could have been there.
Yeah. And
So
also not and also not knowing like I'm sure there are like a dozen or a handful of photographers that like went out of their way to shoot Knock Loose when they're doing like the super community hall shows, and they have Isaac when he has hair and like
yes.
everyone's got the long hair and all that. But I feel like you never know. You never know if that band's gonna blow up. You never know if that person, unfortunately, maybe their life ends sooner than
Yes.
expected. Like all of that really matters. Going back to what you're saying about like getting the shot, like I think I've gotten better at like going with my gut of when I need to like do the whip pan or some of that. But I will say there have definitely been times where I've kind of gone there and I'm like, well, that's not the right cut, so I'm gonna use the other
Dude, I
camera
do that
side.
all the time. I do that all the time. All the time. I'm working on a
Yeah.
live video for Enterprise Earth right now, like a live music video. And
Mm.
dude, there were some parts I was like, why did I pan away? Like I got pressed like
Mm.
last night going over footage and putting it on my timeline. I was like, why did I move away from Gabe at this particular point? Like why like Brandon hit this drum fill and I moved. I looked away right when he started. And I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
So it's a give
Well-
again, it's just a give and take.
Oh yeah, the amount and that's the thing. It's like so exciting with the amount of like feeling that energy at like a show like that, and it's also like yeah, you never know that someone just sporadically is gonna like I don't know. I'm filming Purgatory, and the next thing I know, I see someone picking up a pumpkin and throwing it across the room, and I'm like, okay, I got to follow that.
Dude.
Jordan was filming my band once, and I have this thing where I'll just like open a can of liquid death and just like throw it on people. And
Yes.
the first show that I did that, he was like just totally looking away at the drummer, and I gave him like all this grief about it, but like at the end of the day, I can't actually like be mad at him because I just spontaneously like, okay, now this is like, now this is SeaWorld and you're in the wet zone, so
Dude, you're in the splash zone, baby.
you're in the splash zone. But yeah, I think it is. I think the biggest thing that I can recommend if someone's a fellow videographer or photographer is just go with your gut, and that instinct will just you will be able to tap into that more and more the more you do it.
Yes. Another big thing that I will, like, on a technical aspect that I have been harping on recently, and I use that term harping on loosely, but I kind of have been talking about it a lot, is like composition. Like, like, I don't know why I've been so focused on it lately. Because I used to just not care. I just like threw my camera up and whatever I got. But now, like, I look at everything on a rule of thirds now. Every visual image coming into my retina is on a rule of thirds grid, like all of it. And it's just like that's how I see things now. So like I'll know something is like lining up, so I'll try to line it up on that mental grid that I have. It's like composition is really sick. if you can nail that and be at the right place at the right time, that's 90% of photography for you. Like 90% of photography is knowing how to place a subject in your frame and being there. Everything else is superfluous. Like, yeah, you can touch it up. Yeah, you can make it look a little less grainy or a little more grainy or more contrasty. Who cares? Your style is your style. I don't give a shit as long as it looks cool. But being there, being in the moment is 90% of the battle. So just do it.
Yeah.
Like the only way that you're going to be able to like capture this stuff is to go out and put yourself in that situation.
Right. And it's 10 times harder when it's not like, because when you're in a concert, you are the fly with the big camera. You're not like posing people or like, hey, let's do that again. It's like, it's either you got it or you don't. And I feel like that's what really keeps me on my toes when I'm filming bands, of like every single second of this set matters to me.
Yes. Like every time I'm shooting a band or every time I'm performing, like I mentally catalog every single second from start to finish. It's like, I know where I need to be for this moment. And it's just, I let my body take it from there. I just go. So like shooting shows, sometimes it'll be a blur because I get locked in and I'm having so much fun in the moment. And I just, I feed off the energy of what, if I'm shooting, I feed off the energy that the band is giving me. So I can, in return, give them the product that they want and need. If I'm performing, I feed off the energy of the crowd and my photographer, whoever's there, because I want them to have a good experience. I also want to have a good time. So I try to look at everything as positively as possible, no matter what situation. Because like, why would you have a bad attitude, dude? you get to document something that nobody else gets to see, or you get to do something that nobody else gets to do. Why would you be pissed? Why would you be salty?
Yeah. I will say, I think there's two types of sets, and one I would prefer to be in. The one that I want to be in is having it be, like you said, so locked in that like I'm so in the moment, and then the band's like, okay, we got 2 songs left, and I'm like, holy fuck, this set is flying by.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there will naturally be bands that I film because I try to be as like open to my archival nature as I can, where I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a long one. Or I'm filming like a stoner rock band and I'm like, is it 2 more songs or 20 more songs? I'm not 100% sure.
Or 2
and do
more
I have
songs
the stamina?
That are like 8 minutes apiece, or what's going on here?
Right.
But each of that type, each style, each art piece like that has its place.
Oh,
so I have a lot 100%. Of respect for you for doing your archival work, your documentation, because that's something that's really interesting, and I feel like undervalued at sometimes. Me and Blythe, we're trying to do something back home in Birmingham, starting that up, and to just document like the metal and hardcore scene that comes through Birmingham, and it's not an easy task. So kudos to you for like being consistent and sticking with it, and creating shit that is going to last for people that care.
Yeah, I think something that I have learned is that filming genres in this heavy music space that I'm not used to actually kind of like helps me. I can't just rely on like the really fast, 4/4 hardcore that, I grew up on. I filmed like a Screamo Fest in Toronto last year, and it sounds like I'm going to be doing the one that they're returning to, but it was just like totally different and not what I'm used to. But it like really like helped me focus on like, okay, like this isn't as about, because like no one's moshing. It's just like a bunch of like kids that like really like emotional screamo music. Yeah. So it kind of like allowed me to be a little bit more creative of like me trying to like get a really obscure angle from not like having to move like in another area.
And that like being exposed to that different genre, that different type of musicality, like it puts your head in a different space. So you're going to look for stuff that you don't normally look for.
Totally.
And it's really cool. Like music as a whole is incredible. That's like my whole life. Sounds cliche. Oh my God. My whole life revolves around it. Like, there's a song playing in my head 24/7. If I'm not listening to something, I'm talking about it. If I'm not talking about it, I'm trying to write it. If I'm not trying to write it, I'm trying to record it. not trying to record it. I'm trying to play it. Like it just like it just consumes me. Like every waking or sleeping moment is just nothing but sound.
Right. Curious on your thoughts, and this can be one of the last pieces of this topic. What are your thoughts on when a band is like, "Hey, can you do photos and video?" Because this came up with a friend of mine that does a similar thing that you and I do. Like, and I kind of said, like, my opinion is it's doable, but split focuses will yield less quantity and potentially quality of each. But I'm kind of curious on what you think about that.
They're like the unfortunate necessity. It's not even an unfortunate necessity. Like nowadays, the standard is for content creation, like on the road for like live documentation, is to be able to capture photo and capture video. That's becoming the industry norm. Like most photographers that you see nowadays, like shooting bands, they also work and dabble in video as well, or vice versa. They might specialize in video and they also capture photos at the same time on the side. I do that. That's my way of living. So I've gotten accustomed to it. It does split your focus. You will have times when it's like, oh, I wish I would have been filming here instead of just normal shooting. Or it's like, I wish I could have captured this moment instead of like filming this other band member. You know, right. It's just like, it's like you have to really gauge your time, you know, as accurately as you can, because you're not going to be able to be in multiple, you're not going to be everywhere at once.
Right.
Like I've tried to put myself in the mindset of like, okay, this needs to happen at this point. How do I make it happen?
Right. So, and you know, being open with the band to be like, hey, like, I'm not
like communication with your artist is the key. Thank you for saying that. You have to like, a lot of times I'll see people like just like coming like up and on stage, like getting off stage and going in and around the band members and stuff. And you can tell they've had no prior communication with the artist. It's like, you have to be able to talk to them and like ascertain what they're comfortable with. Cause these are people too. Like these are like a lot of, you know, musical artists that I've come to know over the last like decade or so. They have some type of like social anxiety who is like, okay, like I'm comfortable here, but like this is my space and I don't like that being encroached on. So if you don't have that conversation with your artist, with your band that you're documenting that time, you know, you could be stepping on toes or like crossing a line or crossing a boundary that you didn't know was there.
Right.
And the important thing in all of this is to make sure that you and your artist are comfortable enough with each other and, you know, working together so that you create the best product possible. So if you don't have these conversations, you'll never know. You can't just go into a show assuming that every single band on the bill is going to be okay with, you know, you being side stage or on stage or behind the drummer or, you know, like tucked in the corner next to the monitors. It's just like, you have to be able to talk to your bands, just as bands have to be comfortable enough to talk with their artists.
Yeah. And it could be as something as simple as like, yo, I'm shooting photos for this band. You down with me doing for that? And most people would be like, oh yeah, of course. And thank you for asking. And there might be the one outlier or the couple outliers. They're like, oh, we have our own person, or like we're not a photo band. But that gets into a whole other conversation. I think one thing that I think is like you said, communicating and knowing your artist, and maybe they're like, hey, they want video, but they only want like a 15-second reel on Instagram for the day after. Maybe it's more of like an 80-20 split than a 50-50.
Yeah. And it's like, it comes back to the whole case by case basis. Like,
right.
No artist that you work with is going to have the same like workflow, like the same vibe as the next. Like each case it's all individualistic. So you have to kind of create and mold your work around the artist. And I think that's the cool thing about it, is because you can create, you know, different experiences for the different people that come to work with you.
Yeah, beautifully said. And realistically, like majority of the bands in our level of what we're doing, like could at best afford one person to be out on the road to be their content person. And yeah, it makes sense.
If you can afford to have somebody to document you, if you have that in your budget, please do that. Like bands, please pay your photographer what they're worth and have somebody on tour with you, because that goes so far. People are going to want to look at shit that you've done, 3, 5, 7 years ago and see how far you've come, or see where you used to play and look at, where you're playing now, or just go relive memories from a show that they saw you at.
Oh,
So
right. Yeah.
pay your photographer what they're worth and it brings somebody out that you trust, please.
Because like too many bands play the game of like, oh, we got tagged in these photos, now we can use those to promo the show next, and like that's not guaranteed. There's not going to be a guaranteed photographer at every show, and if anything,
No,
maybe just have someone who's consistent, and then your whole vibe is the same. Versus like,
and it's like
I got
I
the
did
one
a lot of
person who
free
was
work.
doing film, and then I got the other person who's doing the fisheye, like high contrast kind of stuff. So yeah.
I just like I've done a lot of work for a lot of bands for dirt cheap, most often free. And at the time I was like, I just love to be here. That was before like I turned this into like my full-time job. And now it's just like I have an appreciation for bands that go out of their way to make sure that their crew and their photo and video team are just well and taken care of. Like it means the world to me, because that is my career outside of my band being my passion.
Right.
Like it's just like, it means that like as a content creator, it means a lot when bands and artists really care about you and your vision coupled with their art.
Right. Yeah, and I think like, there's clear people that have really set like like not a standard, but like you think of like the Eric Easter days or the Gabe the Pigeons of the world, and like I think that there's as much value of bringing those kind of cats out, as well as like the local person that was taking your photos for free. If you can toss your local homie $50, every show, like things like that will go a long way. And at the very least, you have like the most badass scrapbook to be able to put together at the end of it all.
It's also like if they're your homie and if you appreciate their art and they're your friend, like you should want to like compensate them. You should want to put money back in their pocket so that they can continue to turn around and create even better work the next time. That's how this goes. This whole music, photography, videography industry, it's all a revolving door. Like what helps one helps the other, helps the other, helps the other.
Right.
Like it's all like you have to build somehow.
Right.
So like you help each other. You figure it out. Figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, and going back to where we were saying a little early in the podcast, it's like it's always one thing away, and most of the time it's like you see a song, you see a photo, a live photo of a band that someone shares. Like I literally wanted to have this one band on the podcast, and I found out about them just through a live video, a live photo that I saw. Yeah. That is the game. And I think the more that you're putting yourself out there, and that could be through the content or music that you're writing, I think the combo of the two is important. But yeah, that's what changes the game.
That's what it's all about. And also on the other side of that coin, you can't force content or your work or your art to come out faster than it needs to.
Sure.
The minute you start to do that is when it starts to fall apart. Because if you rush shit, you start to get sloppy, you make mistakes. You realize, 3, 6, 8 months down the road, it's like, God damn, I could have done this better, X, Y, and Z. So just like do what you feel like you need to do, but don't rush it. That's where I sit.
Play the long game. That's exactly what I'm doing with this podcast. That's what I'm doing with my band. Nick, total topic change. What, in your opinion, is your best impression that you can do?
Oh my God. Hey, my name's Joe Swanson. Peter Griffin from high school. Oh my God, my Joe's pretty good. My Plankton's good. Hey, Mr. Krabs. I'm not worried about the Krabby Patty formula anymore. I'm worried about minting NFTs on the blockchain.
Can you do Plankton's correct?
Correct! Hi, my name's Crow.
I can't believe he did it. I told him to do this too.
Hi, my name's Crow Weezer. I love llamas and Jimmy's mom.
Oh no.
I think that's your best one.
Mrs. Neutron. Oh Lord, I'm about to bust. Oh man, I could sit here and do I could just talk for hours. I'd not say a single coherent sentence. I could just say words.
I think that at least one of the shows on your upcoming tour needs to be opened up with the Carl Weezer voice.
Oh my God, you say less. Oh my God. Birmingham. Las Vegas. How are ya?
Oh man, that's amazing. It's time to rock. Oh man.
Oh man. That was good. That was good.
Yeah. I had to throw one in there, to be able to.
I'm glad. I'm so glad.
Surprise. We're on this great tangent of like, you gotta work. It was very inspirational, and then I'm like, let's just hard transition into.
Let's just 180 real quick.
Yeah, let's just 180.
Have you seen
Nick,
my friend Libby? I love her.
Oh man, Nick, this has been a really great chat. I got one more question before we wrap up here. So it's tradition to end the show with a favorite Mosh story that you would like to share. And I know that we kind of started your episode with some Mosh moments, and you're like, everyone's got a Mosh story. And I was like, oh, we have to save the killer Mosh story for the end. So, and that could be anything that's first to your head. That could be something super like brutal, something super wholesome, something super violent, whatever is the first to your dome.
Okay. When I was playing in my old like hardcore thrash band, Mental State, we were like we were playing, I think in like Chattanooga or somewhere, or North Alabama, and in this old venue. It was like 1884 or something or another. It was a straight up solid brick building with a theater inside of it. Okay. And we were one of like two heavy bands on that whole show. And I played drums in this band. My friend Holland was the singer. And we had a moment where we both like looked out at like the crowd, like off towards like the fringes. And there are these like two little like 7 to 8 year old girls just losing their fucking mind. Like they thought Holland, my singer, was the coolest woman to ever exist. And like it came up after the set, like they talked to us like, for a minute, just, like, thank you, like, for being here. Is like, we were like, our girls like really appreciate it. It was so cool. And that's just like shit like that, like is so sick. On this last tour, in St. Paul, Minneapolis, there was this like 10-year-old kid, like fucking like spiked up mohawk, just like on this dude's shoulders from the start of the show until the very end. And this kid was rocking the fuck out. It was so sick. I was just like, I love it when this scene, this type of music that just means the fucking world to me, gets exposed to these younger kids, to this younger generation, because they're gonna pick up our mantle where we left off, just as we picked up the mantle where it was left off for us. Mm-hmm. And if we can create something that's like wholesome and worthwhile for them to inherit when we're gone,
right,
that's gonna be how this thing survives.
Right. Well, again, like to throw back to the beginning of the episode, that was your whole trajectory. That was you going to your dad's shows and like seeing it. And so like my
uncle tried to take me to see Disturbed and Avenged Sevenfold, and I said no, and I went to Colorado. I'm an idiot.
I was that's a horrible mistake.
I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb for that. Because
seeing both of those bands in like their actual heyday.
Those bands fucking rock. I don't care what anybody says. Avenged Sevenfold rocks. Disturbed made the whole like drum break as a breakdown. Their whole like the tribal drum break was their thing. It's so sick. So fucking tight. Ugh. Love shit like that.
You just like, until time travel is like readily available to the public, I'm going back and just slapping younger me.
Dude. Oh my god. If I could time travel, I would straight up kick tiny me in the fucking throat. Oh my god. I would overhand throw Tiny Nicholas Chance at somebody. Who's like, this is you now. God.
Man,
Shit's so cool.
Nick,
I love it. I love this shit.
No, I love it, and I've loved talking with you, Nick, and you know, I definitely feel like a part 2 in the future when it comes to you and I is definitely warranted. All of the links for the tour, the EP, your socials will all be in the show notes and the description. But if there's anyone that you want to shout out, plug, or send the people off with before we sign off, the floor is yours.
I really want to give the biggest shout out in the world to like my band members, Jake, Josh, and Brad. Like, if I didn't have those guys, if we didn't make this record, if everything hadn't have happened the way that it happened in these last 2 years, then I wouldn't be here. Like, that's no ifs, buts, or maybes. Like, they helped make me the person that I am today. And that is like, I can't thank them enough. And they're my best friends. And I got to make the record that I've wanted to make since I was 14 with people that I consider my brothers. So to my bandmates, I love you. Thank you for letting me do this with you. Shout out to my mom for, you know, being the reason that I'm here. Mm-hmm. Shout out to my stepmom for loving Led Zeppelin. Shout out to my dad for loving Led Zeppelin. Shit's beast. I love it. To anybody who's ever just given a fuck about Distinguisher or like any of this music that we create, like, to the people who are there and who care to be there, like, it means the world to me. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much. I hope this record hits you the same way that it hit me when I listened to it for the first time in full.
Couldn't have said it better, man. And super wholesome. Yeah, go see Distinguisher with Mugshot, Sal, The Willow. What was the other band that I'm missing?
Mugshot, Extortionist, The Willow, and Sal.
Right.
We also added a date, the second to last day of the tour. It is 4/15 in Kansas City, Missouri.
Go! All the Kansas people roll through.
That just got added yesterday. So if you're in town, come hang out.
Yeah, I'm really stoked to see you guys getting out there. I'm really excited to, you know, for people to go listen to the EP. And, you know, if we don't need any more reasons to bring Distinguisher up to Canada, you know, this is just another one of those. So
we've been once and we had to run from a fucking tornado.
Oh, wait. We can't end the episode before we know about that.
Real quick anecdote. Bearden is terrified of tornadoes. You can hear him in the background. He's like, he's not about it.
I hate angry wind.
It's angry wind and it's terrifying.
It's spinny and pissed.
Should he join in for this last little portion?
Oh my god, here, I gotta take my AirPods out for this.
Okay.
This is gonna happen.
Oh god, what are you doing?
You're gonna explain to them what happened with the angry wind.
Was it Canada?
Yes. Okay.
I only give a fuck about this story because I'm Canadian.
Okay, so we showed up to this venue where
it was in Saskatoon, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what was this place? Like 3 stories tall?
Yeah, it was up 2 flights of stairs in this bar. The promoter didn't book any locals, wasn't even there. This was on, I think, Canadian Independence Day. And we're like, hey, we're at this,
like, Canada Day?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so they were like, yeah, I'm down at this event at this local stadium. I'm not going to be there, but the bar manager will like cash you out at the end of the night. There were 2 tickets sold.
No, one.
One ticket sold.
There was one.
And it was just the bar manager and the one bar back. So we were like, okay, it's about to, like, we're about to die.
Yeah, we saw the formation of a tornado coming from maybe the, I don't know, the side of where we were driving. Like, it was behind us, but it was like
right.
And I was like, that doesn't look really good, but you know what? It looks like it might go in the other direction. Well, Eventually, we
didn't.
decided we're like, we should probably get out of here because close to about 100 years ago, there was one of the worst tornadoes in that area that happened, and you'll figure there's another one, Canada Day and apparently Tornado Day, and we decided let's get the hell out of here. So we pack up everything, the fastest we've ever packed, between us and that band No Home, and we sped our happy asses off down that highway so goddamn fast, but it got dark in like 20 minutes.
No, we were leaving the city, and the sky was like turning this like weird shade of green.
Yeah.
Like, it was like emerald green above us. I was like, get me the fuck out of here. And we got on the highway. We were trying to leave. 15 minutes in, there's another thunderstorm hitting us from the front while the tornado is like trying to cross this way. So it just created this.
That's a shit sandwich.
Yeah, it sucked. It was me, Bearden, and Jake. Brad couldn't get in because of some shit that had to be taken care of like beforehand. That just wasn't taken care of.
Oh, dude, he was at summer camp with fucking.
Oh, dude, he was hanging
He had
out
a great time. He went to the lake.
He was hanging out at Camp Ben Hoagland.
Yeah.
He was living it up. But it was me, Jake, and Brad, or me, Jake, and Bearden just fucking crammed in the van on the side of the highway in the parking lot of this motel.
Well, no, I pulled over because Jake's like, just keep going. I'm like, dude,
I can't see.
There's no more than like 5 feet of visibility. I can see the wind doing this. And I'm like, no, I'm going to get like into kind of like a ditch kind of an area because it did go down a little bit and wait for it to relax. Because I'm like, dude, I'm having a damn near panic attack.
Dude, it was terrifying. We were being battered like from both ends of the spectrum by these two separate storms that were crossing paths.
There was 2 tornadoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They passed each other like
Well,
most terrifying weather experience I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
By far.
Also,
Well,
it was pretty.
As long as you're not coming in the middle of winter when it's like minus a million degrees, then that's probably the second worst.
I just did a winter tour. I'm cool off that. I off in Chicago. Like literally, like me and the Merge Guy for Great American Ghost spent 2.5 hours in Chicago under the hood of the van trying to fix a relay for the blower motor so we could get heat in the front of the van. It didn't work. So we woke up the next morning with the inside of the windshield frosted over, and we could only blare heat out of the back. So we had to get an ice pick and scrape the inside of the front windshield off. While we were driving, just had to continually scrape it off so we could see.
Yeah.
It sucked. It was awful.
That's a Canadian Tuesday. So do not come here in January or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude,
but
we'll come there in the nice summer months.
Yes, come in the summer, and we'll get you guys hooked up with the right people, so you're not playing to 2 people in Saskatoon. I promise.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
People showing up to our shows and not getting murdered by tornadoes and weather patterns.
Yeah, I can't promise no tornadoes because me and Mother Nature, we don't have that direct line to one another.
Right.
But I can promise if you're coming in certain months, no snow. Well, I can't even promise that because we've had flash snows in like May. So
okay.
Well,
we'll find the right time.
Well, as long as we get to hang out with people, we don't care.
Yeah, we'll take the risk of a tornado.
I don't care if
it's
I don't care if it's 2 or 200. Just come hang out. That's all I'm talking about.
I appreciate it. Well, thanks both of you for ending this episode in such a fun way. I'm stoked to hear the EP, and I'm stoked to see you guys again one day.
Thanks.
Yeah, bro.
Thank you for having us. For real, it was a pleasure. Hope you guys stay safe and everything, and I hope you enjoy the record when it's out.